are now going to start a discussion about WinSURV2, the reporting program by Performance Drilling Technology, which will allow the directional driller to maintain a record of his daily activities and also to put together his bottom hole assemblies and put together a nice set of reports. It is also the program which can be used to generate a post-well report for all of the activity on that job in a very professional manner, and it allows the clients who use this program to generate these reports very quickly and effectively at the end of a job. Before we begin a discussion of the program, which is run by selecting this icon, we need to first discuss a very important format in the system that needs to be adjusted in order to for WinSURV to work properly, and that's the date format. The date format, since WinSURV organizes date and time in a contiguous fashion, needs to be in such a way that it's easy for the database to sort it. And in order to do that, we need to go to the control panel, and we do that by first selecting the Start button, and we select the control panel, and then we select the regional and language settings, and double-click on that, and we come up with this screen here. And this screen will have a button on it, depending on the operating system, called Customize, and it should be set to English, United States. And then we come over here, and then we select Date, and then we need to come over here and type in YYYY/MM/DD. This is very important. Without having this format in this fashion, then the dates won't be sorted and your times won't be calculated properly. And then you have a date format or a date separator, and make sure that that date separator is the same as the separator that you used up here. And go Apply and OK. If you've done that, all you have to do is come back here and you're set. The way you can tell that you have a problem with your date format is when your start times and your end times are reversed. That's a common thing that will happen if that format isn't right. Start here to run the program. First we're going to select the daily BHA. Double click on this, and the version you see is 336. You can see that the version up here is 336 as well in the caption bar, and it also displays in the caption bar the license number of the key that you're currently using. And this is the opening screen. There are two main screens in WinSURV2. This is the first one, and it's the one that's used by people in the office most frequently, and it's also the one that you use to select the job that you want to work with. In this case, for example, I have a job number here that is under a company by the name of BBX Operating. And I have a job number here, and I could go into that job. And I also have an example job on here. And this is a job that I want to work with for the moment, and I'm going to select this job, and I'm going to open up to see what I have underneath that job by selecting that button, and I can see that I have a job tool inventory, bottom hole assemblies. Let's see what I have there. I have 5 bottom hole assemblies, and then I have daily reports for that job. I have quite a few daily reports associated with it. In fact, I have 40. And I can do a count up here. This gives me a very brief summary of the jobs, total number of jobs that I have, and the current job tells me that I have 5, and I have a day count of 40, so I have 40 days of information on there. And if I wanted to generate a report directly from this screen, I can do that by just double-clicking on the BHA that I'm interested in, for example, and then I can select the report that I want to see, and the report gets generated in this area of the screen here, and I can view it and print it, obviously, or export it to a PDF file if I so desire. There are numerous types of reports that can be printed with this program, and another example would be the detailed report for bottom hole assembly, and this would be a summary report after a BHA was run in the hole that you would run, and it would summarize the times and depths and everything for you, and the weight ranges and torque ranges and all of those things would get summarized for you. The mud data and bit data and motor data is all input as well. In addition to which, you have a bottom hole assembly over here, which is nicely organized, a little graphic that gets printed out. Looks pretty good. My report. Oh, once you want to look at another report, you can come into here and choose any of a variety of reports here. A bottom hole slide sheet, a BHA hydraulics report actually gets generated elsewhere in the program, not here. You can copy this BHA from this job over to another job if you want to, or within the same job. It's a nice feature to have. It saves you a lot of time and input, especially if you're out on a rig site where the bottom hole symbols, you're drilling a whole number of wells on a pad, and the BHAs that you use are very similar, and all you have to do is just copy the BHA over from that job over to the next job, and it's a real easy process. And then you have a motor report and a rotary steerable report. Under the job, we have, notice here that we have a inventory here, and that inventory you get to by just selecting that, and you can see that. This inventory too can be copied from one job to the next job, and as you can see here in this line right here that we have on-site checkbox, so that not everything in this inventory that is in the inventory list necessarily has to be on site. If you, for example, this motor right here, if we got this motor sent back out to us, all we would have to do in order to accept it is put a checkbox right here, and it's now put back into our inventory. And if we need to add a new motor that's not on here, all we have to do is select a motor that is similar to the one that we already have, and we can press the control button and the A button, and notice down at the bottom here we have a new entry that has been created here, and it's expecting us to put in a new serial number. So we have to have unique serial numbers for our items here, or otherwise the program won't accept it. And we can change whatever needs to be changed. For example, the length of it may not be exactly the same, so we'll say that it's 27 feet long in this case instead of 26 point whatever, and any other characteristics of it that we need to change, we can change, or we can just come down here and add an entirely new item to the process. We have a list of things here that we can define, lift subs, and if it's not in here as a type, we call it an other, and then you can define it via the description of what it is. So this is a very powerful tool, and although there is another area in the program where you can input your inventory, it is highly suggested that this is the place that you use to put your inventory in. And it's also suggested that you may very well want to have a master inventory set up for your district that you can copy from one job over to the next job. I'll give you an example of how to start a new job here now that we're here, and we'll come back to this example oil job a little bit later, but right now we're going to add a new job. Let's come out here and we're going to press this Add Job button, and we need to have a unique job number. And job numbers are things that are, of course, dependent upon how you're going to assign your job numbers, but we're going to call this our PDT 001 job. Okay, and that's the format, and it checks to see if that exists in the database or not, and it doesn't, so it gives us a green flag, the green. And then we can come over here and we can select from a list of companies that may already be in here, or we can type in a new one. I'm going to use example oil company, and we're going to use our lease well and type in our new well and our new location and our new rig, and we're going to say we're here in Texas where this is being done, And we are in Harris County. And we are in the US of A. And field doesn't really matter for right now. The WinSURV survey file is a separate file that at the end of the job you'll want to go ahead and import all of the curves that you have from that data into the database here, so we have a comprehensive survey list of all the surveys that we have on a given job. Is the edit job where you come in and you select the name of the company that you have that you're working with, and it's important that this be filled in, at least have the name put in. And I'm going to put in performance. Your program should always default to the last one that you had in there. And it's important to put that in there. You don't have to have all the data in here. You will want to completely fill this out and fill this section out over here for the oil company that you're working with if you choose to do one of the reports for the invoicing that will be discussed later on. But for right now, we're just going to leave this empty here. And once we have that, we go OK, and we have created a new job number, and it has given us a count here. And if we come over here to our oil company, we can now see that we have two jobs that are listed under our example oil company. We have the one that was already there, and we have the one that we just created. And we have a bottom hole assembly that has already been initiated for us, and you should not delete that, otherwise it'll create startup problems on getting it initialized. Keep everything in there as it is and just change what you need to do. So at this point, if we want to begin entering data, we go to the next stage here, and all we have to do is go to the selected job, and that's what we are going to do here. And now we can begin a discussion of how to alter the data in this program. This is the edit screen of WinSURV2, and this screen is arranged into 6 basic folders, and each one of those folders may have subfolders. It's organized in the fashion which is generally the fashion what a directional driller would need to do in order to fill data in for a particular job, but the job information being the thing that he needs to fill in first. His tool list is something that he can fill in here, but it's better if he fills it in on the front page. On this list right here, he can come and he can do shipping items, and we'll do that in a minute as we go through how to enter data. And then you have bottom hole assembly information, and this is a fairly complex little screen here. On this side you have the bottom hole assembly that you want to work with, and you have various subfolders down here that allow you to put in more detailed information about your motor and about your bit, and if you have a rotary steerable system that you want to go ahead and document, you can put in information there about that. You have some sensor distances, things like that, and then you have a comment section here where you can put in additional comment information, and the start depth and start inclination, things if you, for different kinds of reports that if you would want to do. There's a little spell checker here that will only work if you use MS Word's dictionary. So if you have Microsoft Word on your computer, then this will take advantage of Microsoft Word, but if you don't, then this won't work. And then you have a summary page here that will calculate a summary, just a very quick view. I mean, these are things that get printed out in the reports as well, but when you press this, this is simply going to calculate things for you. Company man or somebody may want to know some number, but they don't. You don't need to print a report out. You can just go to that and you can summarize it. And then you have the BHA items in here that get built up, and we'll go over the bottom hole assembly and how easy it is to add new items to your bottom hole assembly and move things around and edit them. And your hydraulics report and creating your slide report from your imported surveys and then your daily activity, which is the core of everything that you do. Most of the reporting that you do at any rate here is generated from this input that you have in your daily reporting. For each new day that you have, you will go ahead and add a new day, and then for each day that you have, then when you go to your daily items, then the daily items is where you fill in the details of what you do routinely over the course of the day. And this screen right here is perhaps the screen where you will spend more time inputting information here than you do anywhere else in all of the WinSURV programs that you have available to you, mainly because you're trying to keep track of your activity. And it's from this data here that the slide reports get generated. It's from this data here where the ranges of your pickup weights get generated, and basically all the hours, circulating hours, and below rotary hours get calculated from this information here. So this is a screen which you will spend a lot of time on, and understanding how to put data in here and how to back out when you're having problems and things like that is very important. So we'll go over those in some detail. And then you have other features here in the menu system here where you can save this job to a transfer file, another .mdb file, or you can load up a job from somebody else, or you can back up all your data out of a hard drive and different things. One thing that's very important for you is this repair database upon startup. It's something that you should always have checked every time that especially if you're in the field. If you're in the office and you have this checked and you have a lot of data on your computer and your database, then you may want to uncheck this and only check it when you begin to have certain types of problems. And it'll repair it and then uncheck it again. The reason being that repairing the database every time you start it is kind of unnecessary, but it can be very time consuming. And in order for you to save amount of time, then go ahead and just turn that off. The Report Meister is another area where you can generate reports, and this is a list of numerous reports in here that you can print. Some of these reports most of these reports, in fact, are available on the front screen, but this is an area where the directional driller may be printing out his reports on a routine basis. There's some options in here as well for your reporting as to whether or not you want to show your cost or not on your daily reports. And then there is an option here for whether you want presentation quality on the reporting or fax ready. Basically, presentation is whatever colors you choose in the options for your reporting, and fax ready is black and white, so that the fax makes a better facsimile of it as it transmits it across the telephone lines. We'll go over that. And then you have post-well reporting as well, and this is something that you would use in the office or at the end of a job where you would want to generate a summary report of everything that you've done. And this reporting is an invaluable tool at the end of the job, allowing you to generate massive reports that would otherwise, if you were using spreadsheets, take perhaps days, many hours to generate. So this is really one of the most important features of this, and one of the big benefits of putting this information in is the idea that you can generate this post-well report and do it quickly and efficiently. We're going to return here to the job information, and now we're going to begin a discussion of putting all the information. As you can see here on this screen right here, much of this information is duplicated from information that we already put in when we added the job. There are some additional features here, job status, type job, directional. You have different kinds of jobs. You can have a directional LWD, directional MWD, whatever type of job you're going to be running is put in there. And then you have the field and township range, section, shoe depth, and all of the various different things that you have there. You have job costing on here, and this is a summary of the job costing that you have on this particular job right here. It does not allow you to be able to edit anything on the screen, but it does allow you to be able to review the detailed breakdown of what you have on that job. And you have some way of looking at this and looking at a cross-query, but there's another report that does that as well. And then you have the measurement units, and the measurement units here are for the hydraulics and also for the calculation of the total string weight. So if you're operating with mixed units, which is often the case in the oil business, then this is where you would go ahead and set your units up right here. And density, you do a drop down here and you can see that you have a specific gravity or pounds per cubic foot or kilograms per cubic meter, whatever your units are. And then you have a job summary, which is similar to what we have for bottom hole assemblies and daily activities. And this is just a quick view. It's not a report. So if you wanted to calculate what you had for the total job, you can see that in this particular job, total below rotary hours was 909 hours, and total circulating hours is 502, and non-drilling circulating hours is 130, and so on. So just a little summary of different kinds of information that you have there. The casing information can also be input here. And casing information is an important element to hydraulics, and the size here, of course, it should be organized so that the larger sizes are up at the top, and whatever the set depth is and the top depth is, you need to take that into account as well. Sometimes casing is hung off from other casing inside, and so then your diameter gets smaller and smaller, and sometimes the casing is run all the way up to the surface, and it really doesn't matter what the diameter of the casing was that it's run into. In this case, you can see that we have some 13 3/8 inch casing that's strung inside of the 20-inch casing all the way to the surface. Whether that's actually the way this was run or not, I don't know, but this is, if this was hung off at a top depth, you might have it, this number right here could be something around 2,000 feet and it'd be hung off there. And then you have this very important little field over here, which is when you run after BHA number. And this is where you would put the number of the bottom hole assembly that this casing was run after that BHA. For example, if you had, in this case, 20-inch out there, was already in the hole when you got there, then you'd put in BHA number 0. And then after drilling down with your first BHA, when you pulled out, they ran casing 13 3/8. You would, after BHA number 1, you would put 1 in there, like so. And then later on, when the reports are generated, again, this table is referenced in the calculations for the different bottom hole assembly calculations. The hydraulics calculation takes note of when the actual BHA was run. So we'll close that out. So the next item of interest here is the tool list, and as we have discussed earlier, there's another place where you should put in your bottom hole assembly, or your inventory information. But this screen does afford you some functionality that you don't have on the other, and this allows you to be able to select your tool that you want to see, and you want to see all your motors. For example, I could come down to here and I can select motors, and it shows me all the motors that I have in my inventory. And I can see that over here in this particular column here where it says on site, that I only have 5 of the motors that are checked as on site. So if I wanted to do a quick view of that, then I can select this, and it shows me the total number of on-site motors that I have. I go back to all my tools that I have, or I can just come over here and I can get back to my grand total inventory. There's another functionality that makes this screen very valuable, and that's the shipping ticket that you have available to you. And you can organize shipping tickets. So if you have a hot shot or you're out on a job and you need to send a motor in on a boat and you want to have a written record of what it is that you're sending in, this is where you would you can come here and you can set it up here. You start by saying that you want a new ticket. This is ticket set up for ticket 1, and ticket 1 in this case has already been generated. But I want a new ticket, so I go new ticket, and now I have ticket shipping number 2, and it puts in the date that I'm operating at here. And so I'm going to say that it's being shipped from this job, and I come over to here and I say, well, I'm going to ship it to an address, so I select address, and I have an address in here. I'll ship it to the business address that I have here, and I can type in any additional information and contact or sender information over here that I want. And then I can also add new addresses and other job numbers in here, but normally you go from a job to some address, but in some cases you may be sending it from one job over to another job, and you want to have a record of that. So you have over here, down here in this area here, you have all the items that you have in your inventory, and you can select the item that you want. Say I'm going to ship these 2 motors in for repair. I use the Windows Shift, and I'm going to hit the Control key and then click on these, and I can select the items that I'm going to send. Say I'm going to send in these 2 motors, and I also want to select the stabilizer here that I'm going to send in. And so then I come to this point here and I click on this arrow, and you can see that everything has been transferred over onto the left-hand side. Now I'm going to add a comment, and I'm going to say, this is no longer needed. Location, whatever it is. And so then I go OK. OK will get me out of the screen, but if I want to print the ticket and take this back, I'm not going to say OK. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to print my ticket. So I come up here to print ticket, and it generates a shipping ticket for me that has all of the information on it that I just put in addition to which it has an approximation of the total weight of everything that I have on there that's calculated for me. So I have 3 items on here in each thing, and I can print out a copy, and I can get the truck driver to sign it or the company man to sign it, and we have a printed record. So it's designed to be a tool to help you do your business efficiently. And the big trick to doing this, getting a new ticket, is to remember to hit the new ticket number, which is also the same as if you hit this little add button right here. Either way, it's going to start a new ticket for you. And then you have a record of all your shipping invoices and everything in your database. So now I'm going to close this screen out, and we are going to go to the bottom hole information. Bottom hole information is a screen where you can set up and you can create a new bottom hole assembly. Your bottom hole assemblies are very, very important to start up your bottom hole assembly here by going to the left here. If I wanted to create a new bottom hole assembly, and I would type in 6, in this case I would type in 6, and then I would say this is a steerable assembly. But I need to make sure that I keep this over here on 6, because this 6 is the one that I want to work with here. And now I can put in additional data down here if I want to. The bit data, generally don't want to put any information on the bit data until the end of the run. And the motor data, a lot of this data gets put in when I'm putting in information about the motor on the BHA items. And we'll move over to here and we can see that we have BHA items here, and we're going to build up a bottom hole assembly. We build up a bottom hole assembly first by noting that you already have a bit here, and don't delete this bit. You can change this to something else if you want to, but don't delete it because it really does confuse the program, and it's kind of needs to have that bit in there as a kind of an anchor to the file that it currently has open. And we can change the type of the bit, and I'm going to change it to a PDC bit, and you can see that the picture of the bit has changed when I've done that. And I'm going to keep this, when I come to the serial number, you can see that I have up here a number of bits, 2 bits in here that have been put in the inventory, and if I want to choose one of those I can, and I can do that. But I don't have to have a drop down from the serial number. I can type in whatever I want to. I'm going to put in the length of the bit as 1.2 feet, and the top connection I'm going to put in as a 3.5 regular, and I can, bottom connection of course is none for a bit. So now I come over to the next item, and I have to go to the very extreme left. And note that down here I can move my cursor off to the left or the right. I want to be on the very extreme left, and I want to click on the very extreme left, and it should automatically put in number 2 for me. So that's the second item.